What's up, my friends? Steamy on Movement here. Thank you for tuning into the channel. Before we start today's video, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and commenting below just to help the algorithm. I truly appreciate all the support. And let's go. Today's video is sponsored by yerba mate. Just kidding. That's not sponsored, but I love this drink. This is one of my favorite teas. Yerba mate is rich in an amino acid called phenylalanine, which helps with your mood and dopamine levels. So I find this to be an excellent alternative to coffee. It gives me a great energy boost. And this is my favorite thing. If you guys didn't know, I had a little rock climbing injury to my hand. You probably can't see it, but it's kind of like a bone or a tendon. There's like a little bump there. I'm gonna be doing some videos because it's healing great, which is really good. Because when you have injuries and they don't heal, it sucks. But this one is getting better and better. And this little ball here, I wish I had the name of it. I don't per se, but you can get them on Amazon. I would put like finger ball strengthener extender in there because what you can do, it works all the muscles in your hand. So when you straighten your hand, it's doing that under resistance. And then when you squeeze, it's doing it under resistance. And I do these things where I'm doing like every range of motion. Like I'm throwing the ball, and I'm also like kind of doing my shoulder, like movement and mobility with different arm movements. So I would say even if you don't have any injuries, that this is one of the best things for building up even brain health. There's a huge correlation between grip strength, dexterity, using your fingers, and the health of your brain. If you look up even the homunculus man, our hands take up a massive amount of real estate in our head. So when we exercise our hands and our grip, it's a massive exercise for our brain just based on the amount of neuronal connections up there in the noggin. All right, so today's video is actually about Oxygen Advantage, but I thought I would just throw in, some of the stuff that I like to do in my life that's been working for me, like drinking that tea and doing this hand squeeze thing. But let's get right into it, guys. So as a beginner, what would I want to know for applying Oxygen Advantage? So the first thing is Oxygen Advantage is building a relationship with carbon dioxide and understanding that intermittent hypercapnic states are tremendously healing. So intermittent means for a short period of time, and hypercapnic means high CO2. There's a magic behind this. And what carbon dioxide does through the Bohr effect is, so we have all of these oxygen, we have all of these hemoglobins, right? Like the protein in the red blood cell. We have all these red blood cells with oxygen bound to the hemoglobin. So we have tons of oxygen just circulating through our body. But what we want to be able to do is get that oxygen out of the red blood cell and into the rest of our body, into our tissues, into our muscles, into our organs. And what we need to do is just build up some CO2 in our blood. But normally, that's regulated by the brain. And when we have a low tolerance to CO2, we get these responses telling us to breathe harder, to breathe faster, and we end up taking more breaths per minute, and we end up mouth breathing, and we end up with dysfunctional breathing patterns, and then all of that oxygen is just stuck to that red blood cell. So we have to intermittently build up this high CO2 state. And now I'm going to just propose two ways to do it as a beginner. So the first way to do it, and this would work for almost anyone, I would say just if you're pregnant, not to do this one, but it's called many small breath holds. So you can time it for about 5 seconds on the breath hold, and then in between, you just breathe normal for about 10 seconds. So it would be something like this: breathe in through the nose, breathe out. Now that first breath back in, try to just, as soon as you release, try to breathe back in, because when you breathe, especially if you're breathing light, so don't breathe too hard through your nose. Just take a light, easy breath. It should actually even be silent. You build up a little bit of paranasal nitric oxide. And we want to breathe that back in because it has a ton of health benefits. So, and you can do this for about 5 or 10 rounds. You could do it in the morning. Um, the CO2, besides just releasing some of the oxygen and oxygenating your cells, it's also very good for your vagus nerve. People used to breathe in bags for anxiety and panic attacks. So it has an anti-anxiety, and they call it vagotropic. So it's just a positive effect on the vagus nerve. Now, the other thing that you can do is just called breathing light. So a lot of people um, confuse a big breath with a deep breath. So a big breath is you might be taking in a large volume of air, but it's going to get stuck in the chest. Now a deep breath is you want to bring the air down nice and low, so you can bring your hands to your lower back to feel it. This would be a little bit more advanced, or you can just use your floating ribs, so your bottom two ribs. But when you breathe in, just breathe in so light. Imagine there was a feather under your nose, and the feather wouldn't move. And when you breathe out, do the same thing. And you can slow your breath down, so it's about 4 seconds on the inhale and 6 seconds on the exhale. And you can do this if you can, and you really want to heal, and you really want to make some true changes to your health, your physical and mental health. You can do this on the hour for about 5 minutes every hour throughout the day. And what you'll do is just breathe in light, slow, and deep. But I'm not sure if you're able to see or not, but I'm creating intra-abdominal pressure, and I'm using my hands there so I can actually feel it. Because when we breathe in, our diaphragm moves down, and then that pushes the ribs out laterally. So that's a great way to feel it. And the ribs move out when we breathe in, then the diaphragm moves up, and the ribs move in a little bit when we breathe out. So we can breathe in a smaller volume of air so that we're also having higher levels of CO2, but just in a gentle way. It doesn't even need to be holding the breath. And having this rhythm, it's going to improve heart rate variability, which is going to have a whole host of benefits. And your ability to just cope with stress. Having greater vagus nerve activation is good for the immune system. So there's a whole host of benefits that can happen just by breathing light, breathing deep. We're going to be starting to use your diaphragm, and it's shown that people who have this sort of breath where their diaphragm moves and it's not restricted, where people who actually naturally have diaphragmatic breathing have better balance, are more likely to pass a functional movement screen. And the diaphragm is the only muscle in the body that's connected to every other muscle in the body. So this, I would say, is a good way to start the oxygen advantage method breathing for anyone. And you can do this throughout the day. I do those many small breath holds right before I'm about to go to school, right before I'm about to go to trucking practice, because I know that it could be a high stress situation. I'm learning a new skill, and it's actually increasing oxygen utilization because I'm breathing in so light that more of the oxygen is getting to the alveoli where gas exchange actually occurs. And when I do those small breath holds, I might also do a medium breath hold. And then our body has this built-in mechanism where it feels carbon dioxide levels going up. It feels that it's a hypoxic state. The oxygen's not coming back in. So our body prefers our brain to get oxygen. So it starts to just shuttle oxygen up to the brain. It's like, hey, just in case you're not going to continue breathing, let's preserve the brain. So you can really just oxygenate your brain, which is shown to have really good health benefits on a neurological level, right before you're going to do anything. Maybe you're like playing a sport. This is a great warm up. Maybe you're about to go to school, just parenting, day to day life, anything that's going to require you to be in a physiological state that, for one, is balanced between your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and for two, is cognitively, your awareness is going to be enhanced. This type of breathing is going to be beneficial for getting you into that type of a flow state, that type of a state. And on top of that, it's just improving a lot of health on a deep cellular level. So I hope you found today's video useful. Please, just comment down below. Have you tried breath work? Have you tried any of the popular breath works out there? What has been your experience? I know a lot of people are doing the Wim Hof method, and I have nothing against it, but I'm just here to show that there are alternatives and that you don't need to hyperventilate and breathe so fast before you go into a breath hold. And you can actually just do these mini small breath holds and get used to doing that. So I will catch you guys next time. Peace and much love.